who is here representing the MEDA Board of Directors.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you to our friends who are on the call. Great to see everyone. I'm Laura Fritz. I'm the Director of Economic Opportunity for Frederick County, Maryland, and I am pleased to be here representing the Maryland Economic Development Association. This morning, we have Liliana Chenette joining us from the SBA Office of Recovery and Resilience. Lillian is our Public Affairs Specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Recovery and Resilience. She has served in this role for over 6 years, but more importantly, she's a public speaker, skilled linguist, with proficiency in, are you ready for this? 7 languages, which is unbelievable. She has a passion for cultural diversity and helping underserved communities. And because we're all economic developers, we know that economic development transforms lives. And so we're thrilled that Liliana is joining us today. She has an extensive career serving the federal government, public and private and nonprofit sectors. And before we go into having Liliana share with us about the great work that the SBA is doing on the recovery efforts from the Key Bridge collapse, I just want to remind everyone, pick up your pens because you're going to want to note these dates. On May 30th, we have the MEDA primer. You can register on the MEDA website. 531 Young Leaders Virtual Networking. On 7/22, the MEDA Chesapeake Basic course will be held, and you won't want to miss that, especially if you're considering becoming certified economic developer. And last but certainly not least, on 7/24 is the MEDA Summer Conference. So please mark your calendars now because you won't want to miss any of those upcoming conferences. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Liliana Chenette, from the SBA. Thank you, Liliana.
Thank you, Lara. Thank you, everyone at MEDA, for making possible for this presentation to be shared with everybody that are economic development in all the counties of Maryland and everybody that's present at this meeting. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's humbling to me to be here today because I am proudly serving the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Recovery and Resilience, former disaster assistance, and here today to present you a little bit about what's available from the federal government after the collapse of the bridge, and what you could share with your networks, with all the business owners, all the private nonprofit organizations. And at the end of this, PowerPoint presentation, you should be able to know what's available, where is it available, where are our centers, how to apply for it. You could ask questions, and this is a good tool for you to use in the future because this is going to be shared through all media outlets and through all the networks that are available to MEDA for their members and for their constituency. So going to the first slide of the presentation, I'm going to try to not rush through this, but usually and traditionally, about the disaster assistance, and everybody corresponds FEMA and SBA. This is usually in the presidential declarations. In this case, after the collapse of the bridge, at the request of the governor, our administrator, presented with this governor's certification, which means that individual assistance will not be available to people that they have physical damage in this declaration. So only economic injury disaster assistance is going to be offered through this program. We like to call it short for EIDL. Most of you are probably familiar with the EIDL program from the COVID time. It's the same principle, but, applied for this particular incident. And what does it mean to you and your people that you're serving for the business community? It means that all the area that was impacted in the state of Maryland will be covered under this government certification with this EIDL program loans. Yes, and there are loans and they're not grants. Through the governor's website, this information is available to you. What I want to stress out in the beginning of this meeting, it's that this EIDL program, it's going to be a little bit more having attention from all the people that are affected a couple of months down the road. And the reason for that is because economic injury in a disaster area, it's always impacting the business owners 6, maybe 10 months down the road. So right now, they're not feeling this impact. They don't know that they need this assistance, or they're just going to apply for immediate money like grants that are available through the CDBG money, through the governor's office, through other nonprofit organizations and programs that are available. So the immediate impact is in the area where the collapse of the bridge, the port, all the traffic, all the industries that are related to it. But what they don't know is that a lot of moms and pop stores, a lot of businesses around Maryland and the neighboring states are going to be impacted. And the way they're going to be impacted is because for every business that it's doing business, 10 other businesses are going to be providers. They're going to be, resources for that particular business. And if they are affected, that one business will be affected. It's a domino effect. And that's going to be felt in the next couple of months. This program, it's, in my opinion, an excellent program for the local economy after, an incident. And this applies for every assistance after a natural disaster like a tornado, like a hurricane, but it also after something that it's man-made disaster, like, the shooting in Chicago, for instance, at the parade, or like in this instance, the collapse of the bridge. In that case, this certification that applies for all the state of Maryland, it's going to be available to you until December 30th of this year. And I'm going to go to the next slide because this slide is going to tell you that after the tragic incident that happened with the collapse of the Francis Scott Bridge, this economic injury disaster assistance loan, it's going to be available to you in all the counties of Maryland, but also all the neighboring counties in the neighboring states. The reason for that is very simple. I'm going to give you an example that I just talked last night at a commissioners meeting. And the question was from one of the business owners, and how does that apply to me? I'm in, Queen Anne's County, and, this, it's not even applying to my business. And I said, it's not visible right now. If it will be visible, just keep this as available information, because ultimately this is what it is. It's an available program for you to know in case your business suffers and you need this kind of an assistance. Last week, we have a request from the governor of Virginia to add additional counties to the declaration. So how does this work? If 5 or more, businesses, they could prove that they had severe economic impact after the injury, then the governor of that state could request to the administrator of SBA for this kind of declaration. And then this kind of program, the EIDL, will be applied to the region. With this adding to the declaration, that's kind of making a little bit more difficult our job in the area, because we are now scattered everywhere. We are just 5 people that are serving this declaration, and we're trying to get this information as quickly as possible to you, so you know about what's coming in the next couple of months. As I said, economic impact, it's not something that's perceived or it's gonna feel right away by the business owners. It's something that you could see first. Oh, the traffic gets lower. I could see my revenue on the books is decreasing. Compared to last year, from my tax return, I could see a decline in my revenue and in my income. As a business owner, I have to lay off people. I cannot make the expenses that I usually make, and I cannot pay my regular bills. And that starts, to see the economic impact. Going to the next slide, it's going to talk a little bit about the program and its perks for the business owners. First of all, this is a loan, but it's not an ordinary loan. So it's not a loan like your commercial loan from a bank. This comes directly from the Treasury. And this is only in effect until the declaration is in effect. The repayment for this loan, it could be up to 30 years. There has, like a low fixed interest rate of 4%, which is, not competing with the banks, but it's the lowest interest rate that it's offered to businesses. 3.25% for nonprofit organizations, and no monthly payments or interest. It's accrued in the first year after you sign the loan with us. And what is it used for? It's used as working capital. I would like to call it as a cash flow for the business owners that could show that, had severe economic impact, and that impact was due to this incident only. So this is only for the collapse of the bridge. This is not going to be applied towards any other, occurrence in your business. The small businesses, they could take advantage of this, all small, nonprofit organization, private nonprofit organization, and the loan could be up to $2 million. And of course, not everybody is going to get $2 million, but they need to prove on paper that they've been in existence as a business for at least 1 year prior to this incident. So prior to, March 26th of this year. They need to be a real business, so not like online or something that it's not, producing revenue. They need to have the tax return from last year, because this is how SBA calculates the impact and the economic injury that is applied to that particular, loan for that business owner. It could help the business owner meet the working capital that's needed, as this incident wouldn't have occurred. It cannot be used for purchasing new equipment. It cannot be used for building. It cannot be used for extending your business in any other direction. It is only to help you through this economic impact through the area. The great thing about this program as well from the federal government, it's also the fact that each loan, it's perceived individual. So it's not like a commercial loan where they say, well, this is your, your tax return is not showing enough, documentation, or you had previous loans. So it's very lenient, but it's within the federal, banking industry rule. It's this loan, it's not to replace the lost revenue and any income or any money that you want to put towards the expansion of your business. For those resources, we have other programs, other loans with the traditional SBA, which I'd like you to take advantage of and know more about. This is an opportunity for me to also talk to you about the traditional SBA and let you know that we have partners on the ground, the local office that is always your point of contact. And you could always go to the local office and look about different other programs, different other presentation for what's available in your area and for your business. The next slide, it's going to talk a little bit more about the loan in itself, the EIDL loan. As I said, you're probably familiar with this from the time of the COVID, when the EIDL loan was very made popular. It's for the economic impact for everybody. This EIDL loan, if you had a COVID loan or any other disaster loan previously, would not be merged, would not be, perceived as changing for this particular loan. So let's say, for instance, you have a COVID loan. The COVID loan, it's going to continue with the terms that the COVID loan was given to you. This is going to be an additional loan to you, and everything that it was taken in consideration for your eligibility criteria, it would look towards this loan to see if you could repay it. Because ultimately, we need to look at the repayment capability of each business owner. This, it's not costing you anything to apply, which means it doesn't have any closing cost. It doesn't have no obligation for you to take the loan at any point. And the great thing about this, it's also that you could negotiate the loan. So once you start the application process, and it's accepted by the system, and you go to talk to a loan officer, at that point, you get a chance to actually negotiate the loan, which means if you need less, you could take less from what's offered. If you need more, then you need to bring additional documentation to the loan officer that's, going to be required from the business owner to let them know how could you repay the loan and what is it that you need additional money for. It's a great opportunity for you to speak directly with the SBA, with the disbursement office as well. And keep in mind that everything that it's talked between you and the loan officer, it's an opportunity for you to have a one-on-one report, which sometimes you don't have at the regular, loans from the bank. Loans cannot be consolidated. So at any point, if anything you want to change in this application process, you need to let people know at the PDF that, this loan, it's individual and what are the criteria that you qualify for this loan. Let me make it in layman terms. Let's say, for instance, that you want to apply for this loan, but you need, you think you need for the next 2-3 months, like a business owner that I talked the other day, only some kind of a help, for you to be able to get through with it. Let's say you are in a transportation business where your business is right now paralyzed because of the port, of the traffic, and you need this loan to just help you through 3 to 6 months down the road. Then you need to apply right away. Let's say, for instance, that your business actually, it starts to be seeing the economic impact in 6 months down the road, that you need to take in consideration to take notes from the moment you learn about this program to the time you want to apply for the loan and prove that the economic impact was actually due to this incident. If we go to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about the requirements for this loan. So, as I said, we are a federal agency. We are bound within the federal, banking industry to look upon the criteria for the people to apply for a loan. So the eligibility criteria, it needs to be that you are a business in the damaged area, in this case, in every state of Maryland or in the neighboring state that states that are in the declaration. You need to prove to SBA that you have a good credit history, and the credit history needs to be acceptable by the SBA loan officer. The repayment capability needs to be, shown on through financial documentation, and also if you are eligible to repay the loan, it needs to be proven that you have the contracts or the revenue that could cover for this loan long term. Everything that it's over $25,000, it's considered to be an unsecured loan. So it requires collateral. Everything that it's under $25,000, it's available to you in a much easier fashion because that's considered to be an unsecured loan. Most of the companies that apply with us, they thought that they couldn't qualify for a loan. So they disqualify themselves thinking that, I have this loan and I have that, and, my revenue was a little bit lower. So as I said, we try to be lenient, but we need to be within the guidelines of the banking industry. We are never going to decline you for a loan for lack of collateral, but we require that you bring and you pledge collateral what's available for a loan that's higher than $25,000. Let's go to the next slide. And what do you need in order to apply for a loan? Of course, you need to prove that you are who you say you are, that you are the signatory for that loan for the business, and that you have a valid EIN number and a social security number. You need to prove that your income and your accounts are in place to prove the economic impact and to prove that you could repay the loan. We need a copy of your last federal tax return, and we need insurance information if available. Contact information, it's always required when you sign for a loan, even if it's online or in person, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It's always necessary. Let's say you want to apply for this loan from the comfort of your living room or the comfort of your business. You could go online and apply for it right now. It's going to be available to you until December 30th. It's at sba.gov/disaster. And the application process is very self-explanatory. And, it shouldn't take you more than 45 minutes to complete the whole application process online. However, if you're like me and I want one-on-one report when I present something, as far as like for my business, for my financial documentation, I want to be able to ask questions, then you want to have that capability to talk to a person. For that reason, we've opened 3 business recovery centers that I'm going to give you the locations and the hours of operation for those at the end of the session. And they're only going to be available as long as at the extension of the governor's office invitation and the traffic that's in the centers. We have word that we should be closing the business recovery centers pretty soon because we've been here for a little bit over a month and we had traffic to the centers, but it's not as high as we thought it will be. And the reason for that, it's simple. It's always like that when it's in a governor's certification. In the beginning, in the first couple of days, everybody that was in the immediate impacted area, they're coming to the centers. Then after a couple of weeks, for businesses that they have not felt or they have not thought about the economic impact that's going to be on their business, it's going to be a delayed reaction. So in those cases alone, I would say that those are going to be the businesses that are going to rely on this kind of program probably closer to the deadline of this declaration, which is December 30th. And for that reason, we have partners that are on the ground. These partners are amazing. I would say in all these years that I worked for SBA, it's amazing to see how SBDC, SCORE, Women's Center, Veteran Centers, they help us through this process. And once we leave a disaster area, they pick up the pace and they are actually helping people in the local offices, to actually apply for a loan with SBA. The local office is also a great resource, but they do traditional loans and other programs and not disaster assistance. They could guide you through to our partners or to offices that they could help you once we are gone from the area. Therefore, I'm going to go to the next slide and urge you to tell all your constituency, to everybody about these loans and try to apply early in the process versus, waiting till the last moment. I'm going to give you some tips to apply online because a lot of people, don't know that we have a new system. This new system, it's made very, user-friendly. I've tried to take this online so I could see what would a business owner go through in order to apply for a loan. And it took me 45 minutes. It was simple. It was question and answers, yes and no, to just go through the eligibility criteria. But when it came to actually the application to submit all the documentations that are actually necessary, I didn't know that I need these documents scanned ahead of time. I didn't know that they have to be all the way to the tip of the page. And then when it comes to, the form that releases the tax return from the IRS, that needs to be completed correctly. Otherwise, it delays this whole process and it takes 30 days and the loan, it's delayed. And then people get, kind of like frustrated in the process and they just like say, I don't need this. Therefore, I just want to give you these tips so you could just have them as tools if you decide to take advantage of this EIDL loan. Of course, the legal name needs to be used at all times in the application process. That legal name means the name that you actually put on your federal tax return. And that needs to appear exactly as it's on the tax return. So is the address that it appears on the tax return, because if you use a PO box and you use a different address in your tax return, that could be something that's scanned through the IRS system and rejected, saying that, they need additional information. So that kind of things you get as a perk if you come to the centers and we help you through the application process. But it also, I'm giving you these tips so you could just share with your networks so they could attempt to do it online if they're, computer savvy, which I'm not. After multiple attempts, a lot of people, they get discouraged and they say they produce too many applications in the system. So there's a password reset problem. If there are joint applicants, they don't know that each owner or each applicant need to be with all their financial information in the system. And you need to make sure that at all time you monitor your email address that you gave to us, so we could have all those notifications to you if they are necessary. Let's say, for instance, the loan officer picks up the application and they need something from you. If the email address gets rejected in the system and it's not a valid email address, then we cannot make you aware of what's necessary. Always check your spam folder. The reason for that is, we have a lot of filters and that goes straight to the spam folder, and, we don't see what's coming as a new, person that we want to receive emails from. So the first email that you receive from us saying your application was accepted, that you need to check your spam folder the next couple of days after you apply to make sure that that was received. We're going to go to the next slide and we're going to talk a little bit about our resource partners and how does this work after we are gone from an area. As I said, we are very fortunate to have excellent partners that are always supporting our programs after disaster. It's in the area. SBDC, it's an excellent partner. SCORE, women centers, women business centers, veteran centers, and our traditional office. I just want to bring back, a caution on the application process. An application is not a loan until it's not accepted, signed, and, then the funding should be received within 10 to 15 business days from the day that it was actually accepted. Our partners know this. Our local office know this, but if you attempt to do this online on your own, you might not know this, and you think that I have an application process, but the application process, it's not a loan until you actually have completed all those financial documentations necessary to be scanned in the system, so we could verify your income and we could verify your economic impact. You could always find resources at our local offices. You could schedule appointments and always verify what's available through the local SBA office. And you could get assistance by just going to sba.gov/local assistance. Those are going to be the resources that are always going to be in the area, and they're going to be different from each area to each area. Maryland has excellent SBDC partnership with us. They are in all our business recovery centers, and so are different other federal agencies and state and local agencies at those business recovery centers that I'm going to provide you in a minute with that information. So when you come to one of our business recovery center, it's not just SBA. There are local, partners with us, and also from the governor's office, all the programs that are available. Each center has different resources, and you're always going to get from us the help, support, advice, and guidance that's necessary to take you through this application process and help you understand the system. The next slide, please. It's going to talk a little bit about how you could contact us in general. So our website, it has multiple languages, but the application process in English only. As you know, Lara said in the beginning, I am fortunate enough to actually have lived my first portion of my youth and education in Europe, and I speak multiple languages only for that reason. But I also am a linguist, and when I don't work, because I'm only working for SBA when I'm active. So when I'm not active, I work for the Department of Justice as an interpreter, and I know how important it is for the underserved communities to know about this information, because a lot of businesses in the areas, they're Hispanic, they're Asian, they're all sorts of like small businesses that they could be affected. And it's important to have this information in their own language or assistance in their own language. We at SBA at the headquarters level, we try to and we work constantly on making equal access for all businesses that they're affected, and to make this information available. So please go to our website at sba.gov and just, click on the language on top of the page that it's, familiar to you. As I said, the information about the disaster assistance, it's available in multiple language. The application alone, it's in English only. And it's normal because it's a legal document, and a legal binding document has to be in English. You could always contact our customer service line and ask this information about the declaration, about anything that has to do with the loan in itself. We offer for people that are hard of hearing, or they have a speech impediment, or they have a disability, we have a TTY system, we have a 711 access for a telecommunication system that's relay available. And you could always contact us via email if you have an application pending, or if you have a question about the application, disaster customer service at sba.gov. Again, I will urge you little tips about that. If you have an application, put at the top of the topic of the email the application number, your name, and then make it brief, 2-3 sentences, paragraphs, saying, what are you asking for in the application process, and just make sure your contact information is always available with us. Because let's say, for instance, 2-3 years down the road, people's status change, the business change, the address change. A lot of things could change in the process, but the loan continues. And at all time, we need to know how to get in touch with you. With that being said, I think I've just rushed through this a little bit faster than usual. And I'm going to go to the next slide, where it's actually, I want to talk about the business recovery centers. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have this one-on-one report with a business owner that has financial documentation that don't want to be actually made very visible to other people, and they need this private assistance, one-on-one questions about this application process. And it's very important to be here and to start the application process early, in the early stage, while we're on the ground, so we can answer all your questions. Right now, we have 3 business recovery centers. We don't know how quickly they will close. So the Care First Engagement Center, which is in city of Baltimore, It's available to you, and it's located at 1501 South Clinton Street. The hours of operation for that center are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and Sundays it's closed. The hours of operation in the centers, they could be, changed at a very short notice. Sometimes, press release or press advisory gets into effect and people don't know it. That's why I am urging you to verify before you go to a center if that center is still available and open to the public, especially now at the end of the declaration. We have a center that just opened about a few weeks back at the American Job Center. That is a very accessible center for everybody. It's located at 7930 on Eastern Avenue in Baltimore, Maryland. And hours of operations are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. And it's closed Saturday and Sunday because the center is closed Saturday and Sunday, the American Job Center. We have just last week, we opened the Glen Burnie Library Center. Previously, it was at the church in Glen Burnie. It's located at 1010 East Way, Glen Burnie in Maryland. The hours of operations are different because of the library hours of operation. It's open Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Fridays, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and Sundays, it's closed. So please, make these centers available through all, your networks on. You could actually take this slides or share this presentation that's in PDF, and it's going to be shared with you through all your media contacts. I will also provide you with a flyer that you could put on your social media for this to be available extensively through and distributed extensively through your networks. Closer to the deadline, which is December 30th, I've asked the media, the governor's office, everybody that it's, emergency managers, that they have all this information in the states and in the counties, to publish again this information 1 month prior to December 30th. The reason for it, it's very simple. The economic impact, it's going to be felt in the next couple of months. People are relying on short grants, short, financial, assistance that's available through other sources, and they don't take this as a valid options for right now. Closer to the deadline, they would look upon this and they will say, well, I've heard something about SBA, but I don't know how to apply. So it is very, beneficial to the applicants to have this information again closer to the deadline so they know that this is available to them. Because once this sunsets, then, it's never going to be available to them afterwards for this particular incident. With that being said, I think I rushed a little bit through the presentation and I apologize for that. But I just give you the option to ask questions about anything that I talk about or anything that you think that you want to know about this, program, the EIDL program, and about our presence here in Maryland.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Liliana. And I'm sure there are lots of questions. So if you wouldn't mind, participants, just using the hand raise button down at the bottom of the Zoom call, I'll be sure to call on you.
Okay.
Any hand raising? Not seeing any so far.
And thank you so much for monitoring this session and providing them with copies of this presentation for future purposes, with all the, location of the centers and the hour of operations. This is going to be a good tool for them. And at the level of county level, for the directors of economic development, if they need this presentation made available to them, they could present it at a future date. if you have any network with the Chamber of Commerce's, I've already covered them all, but if you do, and if this becomes, you know, like an issue in the future, feel free to share this information with them as well. As I said, we have a direct link to the governor's page for relief for Francis Scott Bridge, you know, disaster and all the aid that's available through them. It's a good resource to point people either into the governor's page or directly through this or directly through SBA disaster assistance / for the applying for the loan. And all our partners on the ground are going to have this information. I've made this as a distribution to all the media, that's local media. And our administrator was here the first week after the collapse of the bridge. There were a lot of, you know, news about this assistance that's available. We had 2 VIP visits from our office, and several people, they show interest in this program. But as I said, a lot of businesses that they do not see the immediate impact, they would actually become future applicants closer to the deadline when their business, you know, experiences more economic impact than what's seen right now.
Fantastic. All right, last call for questions. All right, not seeing any.
I don't have a,
Susie?
yeah, I don't have a question. I was just gonna say thank you. It was very thorough. I hopped on a couple minutes late. We had a school emergency this morning, but I really appreciate it and thank you for setting it up and sending the slides.
Well, thank you, Susan. That was very nice of you. And if you have any questions in the future, please direct them to us. As I said, either send them to customer service or you could send them directly. Pam has my contact information. So if you have any future questions, you could just email them to me.
Will do. Thank you.
MEDA website's being, we actually have a page where the information is on there, and we're gonna update the centers that, those addresses for the centers, but that'll be updated, and then we'll send an email out to everybody with a link back to the website, but also attaching the PDF of this presentation today. Okay. Thank you, Liliana.
Well, thank you so much again. Thank everybody that was present, you know, for your time and for, you know, listening to this presentation, and I hope it's helpful.
I'm sure it will be. Thank you
Michelle.
all very much for joining us today. I see Danny is here too. I was just
Thank you.
wanted to say good morning to you, another board member that joined us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thanks, everybody. And there's Jerry. Hi, Jerry. Good to see everybody. Y'all had your cameras off. I didn't. Anyway, good to see everybody. Thanks very much.
Thank you, MEDA, and thank you
Liliana, I'll
again,
be in
Liliana.
touch.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
If no more questions, I'm gonna disconnect
Okay,
and jump on my
I'm
next.
gonna close it down. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.